Okay, so as you guys are getting settled in, Emily, you ready?
Yeah, great. So good to see you guys. As Professor Lee said, my name is Emily Capdeville. I'm the Associate Director for Study Abroad here at Tulane. I work in the Office of Study Abroad. I myself studied abroad as an undergraduate. I spent some time in Belgium learning France. I've studied abroad in Bamako, Mali, in West Africa. I've worked abroad in France. I worked abroad in Copenhagen. So I have a lot of experience with this topic. I want to start off by asking you, when can you study abroad as a Tulane student? What year?
Whatever.
Ding, ding, give her more ice cream, right? I just want to make it clear, and I think for science and engineering students it's especially important to know this, that there's a myth that you can only study abroad during your junior year. But that's actually not true, right? So you can study abroad as early as the spring semester of your sophomore year. You can study abroad the summer after your freshman year on a Tulane program. You could even potentially study abroad the fall of your senior year, right? And so science and engineering students have so many sequential classes that there's one part in the fall and one part in the spring, that you really have to kind of move things around to create space to make study abroad happen. Maybe you prepare for the MCAT all summer, take it in August, right before your senior year, and then in that fall of your senior year, that's when you go study abroad, right? So we really have to get creative and imaginative when we're thinking about what study abroad might look like for you. You can, as I think these students did, study abroad your junior year, but that's the first thing that I really wanted to spell. So the purpose of this presentation is just to introduce you to study abroad. I'll talk a little bit, I'm going to blaze through this stuff, but why should you study abroad? We kind of think about the obvious stuff, exploring another part of the world, developing your foreign language skills if that's something that's important to you, being something that can build your resume. And I think especially for science and engineering students, demonstrating that you can work with people from other cultures is really important, because when you're working in a lab 10 years from now, you might be working with people from all over the world, right? Then the not so obvious. Studying abroad can help you gain independence, build self-confidence, teach you how to be adaptable, and then help you learn about other cultures. And then create lasting relationships. I'm sure these study abroad students can talk to you about the friends, probably lifetime friends that you made when you were studying abroad. So that's just kind of why we think it's important. It can help you get hired, and my colleagues have collected all of these statistics that show that study abroad helps set you apart from all of the other undergraduates out there who are entering the job market or applying for graduate school. You have higher earning potential, you're more likely to get a job, you have more to talk about during your interview, you might seem to be more mature when you're being interviewed. So it's really a great investment for your future. All right, these are the nuts and bolts, right? When you're thinking about where you should study abroad, even though you, I'm sure, feel limited by the constraints of your academic programs, we really want to push you to think about where you want to go. Like Dr. Lee said, we have programs in France, we have programs in New Zealand, we have programs in Singapore and South America that can all accommodate science and engineering students. So as you go through this research process, I really want you to think like a regular, Tulane student who's in the School of Liberal Arts, right? Like, where am I interested in? Where do I want to spend 6 months? Where do I want to develop meaningful relationships, right? What part of the world's culture am I interested in? What language do I want to pursue? You can also think about it in terms of where you might want to go back to and work. If you think you might want to do lab work in Germany, then maybe you should study abroad there, because it means in the future you'll have those connections there. Another thing that you need to consider is the level of immersion that you might want to do, right? Do you want to do homestay, or do you need to live on your own? That's one of the factors that you can consider when looking for a program. Are you looking for an urban environment or a more rural environment? Right, you can go into kind of like rural areas in Panama and study biodiversity in the jungle, or you can go to a city, go study in Paris, France, and directly enroll at a university, kind of, and live an urban life. But those are the kinds of things that you really want to consider when you're looking for study abroad programs. Another thing is your language skills, right? Even though English is kind of the lingua franca of the sciences, you'll find that a lot of the direct enrollment programs that we offer do require advanced language skills. And so if you're a physics student who's also studying Spanish and want to study physics in Spanish, absolutely that's possible, right? So kind of think about, do you want to take those science classes in English, or do you really want to try and take them in a foreign language, because that's an opportunity that you have. And then, like I said at the beginning of this presentation, thinking about when you should study abroad. How many of you have some familiarity with your degree audit? Have you look in it, right? And so you have the ability, even though we have an advising staff, you have an ability to know the classes that you've already taken, the classes that you still need to take, when those classes are offered. You know, are they offered in the fall or the spring, or is this a fall-only class? For science and engineering students, we really push you and encourage you to kind of get some awareness about those types of issues, because when you come in for advising, that's the stuff we're going to ask you. You know, is there a course you absolutely need to take the spring of your junior year? Because if it is, then we have our work cut out for us looking for that course abroad, right? And we'll work with you to find that course. But we definitely need you to help us. I'll explain a little bit about the different types of programs we offer. And so you can go abroad in a few different ways. Science and engineering students have a lot of success going on direct enrollment programs, what we call direct enrollment programs. And they're kind of like what it sounds like. So you might go to the National University of Singapore as a visiting international student and take courses from any of the departments that they have there at that university. Those tend to be really great for science and engineering students because it means that you're taking courses from faculty who are currently conducting research. They're teaching courses for their local students, right? So you're more likely to find that linear algebra class or the differential equations class. That's how much I don't want to take those classes because I can't even say the names of the class. But because they're, you know, these full departments that offer courses to the degree-seeking students that are there, they're really good for science and engineering students because then you can find courses that are equivalent to the requirements that you need. We have direct enrollment programs all over the world. So I've named some of them. We have one in Ecuador that's, you know, in Spanish. If you don't want to take courses in a foreign language, you could go to Australia, New Zealand, you could go to England. Singapore is another example of a place that you could go. And so we have a lot of options that fit this model that are great for SSE students. The other type of program that you might be looking at is what we call an island program. And these can be great for y'all as well, because an island program is a program that's designed around a specific academic topic, right? So I just spoke with a student who's a marine biology minor who wants to go abroad and get credits for marine biology. And so we have some direct enrollment options that are great for her. But then we also have programs, for instance, we have one program in Panama that is literally called Tropical Biology, Marine Biodiversity, and Conservation Studies, or something like that, right? So this is a program whose sole function is to teach that topic that is her minor requirements. And so depending on your major, we might be able to identify a program that really is just designed to offer courses that fit right into your major or right into your minor within SSE. Those are called island programs because in general they're designed for US American students that are going to study abroad, right? So it might be that you're there with 10 to 15 other US students really intensively studying a topic. How do I look for the program that's right for me? Do I want to be really independent or do I need more support? You know, do I want to be in an urban area or a rural area? We really have different programs that fit kind of individual needs of students. And so you don't have to think, oh, I have to go on a direct enrollment or exchange. We can work with you. How will study abroad impact my degree progression, right? So we've talked about this stuff. Becoming really familiar with the courses in your major. How many of you are pre-med? Oh my goodness, future doctors of the world. Yes. So, you know, the funny thing about being pre-med is that you don't have to be a science major to be pre-med. You can be a science major, but there are a lot of pre-med students that are pre-med and, right? So they're pre-med and majoring in chemistry, but they're pre-med and majoring in art history. So you have even more requirements to fulfill, right? So for us in the Office of Study Abroad, it's really helpful if you can come in and say, you know, my sophomore year I need these classes, my junior year I need these classes, my senior year I need these classes. And if you can give us that information because you've become familiar with your degree requirements, then we can say, okay, well I can look at this program and find the courses that'll match and transfer back, right? For science and engineering students, it's really important that you're picking your courses on your study abroad program in conjunction with all of your advisors, right? So what that means is that you're working with your major advisor to find out whether those courses will transfer over and fulfill your requirements at Tulane. And then you're working with your study abroad advisor to make sure that you can get in those classes when you go abroad. That's a really key thing, right? So we don't want to send you to the University of Edinburgh where you might think you're getting physics credit, and then you get there and they're like, you can't take this physics class. No. Before you go, we want to know for sure that you can get to the classes that you need, so that you don't have to worry about that kind of variable of coming back as a senior and something not counting towards your degree. So we really push science and engineering students to get as much pre-approval as possible. And then just as a note, you're going to earn full-time credit while you're abroad. So you'll continue to earn your credits towards your degree.
Emily, before you go on, I just want to say something about the classes. And I never know what the real rules are, so Dana, jump in on this. A lot of students feel like they have to get all their requirements before they go abroad, all their Newcomb Tulane requirements. Going abroad is a great opportunity to take your fine arts, your humanities, your social sciences, your whatevers, right? Don't feel like you got to get them all done beforehand. I'm going to jump to my students. Did you guys take anything that was not a major requirement? Anna, what did you take?
I took crime and deviance in South African cities, which is my outside Western traditions.
Okay. Okay.
I took an upper level English.
Okay, so she took an upper level English because she's pre-med, so she needs upper level English, right? Right. So when you're planning, this is why it's really important to talk to both your academic and your major advisors to know what could I take, right? Because I'm going to tell you for neuroscience, I don't want you taking a bunch of neuro classes, right? I know Karina took one, and that's all, she needed to do that because the way she planned her schedule, she only needed to take one. We only have 5 requirements anyways within the major, so why would I have you go over to, go somewhere and take 3 of them when you're abroad? I want you to take our classes, right? But taking one, taking maybe humanities, taking a fine arts, it means you can do that during the course of your time abroad and you're not wasting any time. The other thing is you need 120 hours to graduate. You guys, the engineers, need 128 hours to graduate, right? You need just hours, just electives, right? So even once you've met all your Newcomb Tulane requirements, all your major requirements, you still have, what, another 30 credits or more that's just for you to take as electives. So you can probably go abroad and not take anything that you had to do. Again, with good planning, you can do that. So I always want to make that as a point because students sometimes, they come to talk to me and I'm like, well, what do you need? Oh, I don't need anything, I already done it already. I'm like, okay, well, just take a
Bye.
Yeah, well, or you just, yeah.
Thanks for checking. No, and that actually brings up a really good point that wasn't on these slides. But so in terms of transferring credit, if you are going on one of our approved programs, which we have over 100 approved programs all over the world, then credit automatically comes back from those programs as upper level elective credit with a grade attached to it. The grade doesn't factor into your cumulative GPA, but if you take, English or the deviance class, right, that'll come back probably as a sociology at the 5,000 level with that same title and with the grade. And the reason that I'm saying that is because that makes it a lot easier, and I think Dana can probably speak to this too, to apply those credits to whatever requirements that you need to fulfill, whether it's within your major or it's a Tulane core curriculum requirement. So absolutely, that's a fantastic.
Emily, you got a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if the grades you get abroad doesn't factor into your GPA, then is it just on your transcript?
It's on your transcript, and so for those of you that are applying, it's important to note, because for those of you that are applying to graduate school, for instance, most graduate schools will request your Tulane transcript, and then they'll probably also request your transcript from the university abroad, depending on where you're applying. And so those grades don't affect your Tulane cumulative GPA, but they don't disappear. Yes.
Wait, but are they on your Tulane transcript?
They're on your Tulane transcript.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would so is the course for, like you said, neuroscience, would that be factored into your GPA if it was a required course?
So it's not factored into your Tulane cumulative, right?
Even if it checks that box?
Even if it
Yeah, it checks the box, fulfills the requirement, it's just the GPA's on it. Now, one other one is, so I said I taught this summer in Stockholm. There was 3 faculty, we taught 6 science and engineering classes this summer. Those are Tulane classes. So those came back and those did fulfill the requirements and the GPA count because those were Tulane classes. So that would be a difference. Yeah.
Which locations do Tulane professors go to for like those Tulane classes?
Yeah, so summer, this was our first year in Stockholm. When Emily went, we were in Copenhagen.
Okay.
That's the same organization.
Oh, so is it a different place every year?
No, just we had been in Denmark for 4 years and we were looking for a change, so we went to Stockholm and
Okay.
we're going to be there again this summer. I filled out my paperwork today for that. So we've got a really good program in Ireland, and we've got a really good one in France. I know the honors program was talking about the one in Berlin last year. They've got study abroad
Berlin's gonna go.
options in
Ferrara, Italy is gonna go.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so if you want to fulfill, like, for instance, your fine arts requirement, when you study abroad, you could go to Ferrara on our program and take an art history class that would fulfill that requirement. Whereas on the Stockholm program, those are science courses.
Okay.
Any other questions about academics? We'll have more time for questions if something comes up. The other thing I really want to make clear during this session is how money works when you study abroad, right? That's a very important thing. So of course you have to pay for initial travel, you have to pay for getting a visa, you have to pay for transportation when you're on site, board just like you would here in insurance. But how does your financial aid apply? So when Tulane students study abroad on an approved Tulane program, they pay Tulane during the semester. They pay Tulane tuition the same way it's paid now. So if you're at Tulane on a half scholarship and then you have a grant and then you have a loan, you continue to earn that financial aid package because you're still enrolled at Tulane when you study abroad, okay? So the idea is that studying abroad for tuition should cost the exact same in the exact same way as if you were here on campus, right? You will have to pay room and board out of pocket, and then of course flying to Melbourne, Australia is going to cost a little bit more probably than flying to New Orleans, depending on where you're coming from. But so just keep that in mind that you maintain your financial aid package. Our study abroad office also has a lot of scholarship money that we give away for summer study abroad. I think we gave away maybe $1,000 scholarships this summer, which basically could pay, that could pay for the flight, right? And so that makes the cost of, let's say, taking a summer program at Tulane here in New Orleans, it's less, but it's not that much less than going and taking a summer program where you get 6 credits, okay? So that's there, that's the scholarships. And then just to give you an idea of how you apply, all of the application processes take place online. And so on the OSA website, we have an online application system. You need to have a cumulative 3.0 GPA to apply to study abroad. And we've just started to, we just created a policy that allows petitions if you have below a 3.0. So don't be discouraged if you don't quite have a 3.0 yet. We really want to facilitate study abroad for students that are ready to do it. And so you can always come and talk to an advisor about that. Most of our summer programs require a lower GPA, and so if you think you're just not ready for a semester program, you can always go on a summer program. And the application process is really laid out on our website. One more thing I'll say about the application process, especially for semester programs, and if you're a freshman or a sophomore, this is a really important thing for you to start thinking about. In addition to writing an academic statement and kind of talking about the courses that you want to take abroad, one of the things that you'll need to get is a major advisor approval and then a faculty recommendation, right? And so it's likely, especially if you're in those lower level science classes, that you're not having really like one-on-one relationships with your professors. You might feel more comfortable with like the person who's leading your lab section or something like that. But just as a general kind of thing to put in your brain, whether it's for study abroad or for graduate school or medical school, now is the time to begin developing relationships with your professors. Because you're going to need letters of recommendation for study abroad, but then for all manner of things, right? So take advantage of professor office hours. Go and talk to them about things, whether you're struggling or not. Talk to your professors about study abroad, because your professors were an undergraduate once too, right? Like Professor, we studied in Austria, didn't you, when you were an undergrad? So they have connections, they probably have research connections around the world. And so take advantage of them as a resource, but then also make sure that they know who you are, so when it comes time to get a letter of recommendation, they can go ahead and offer it. So I think rather than me talking through these locations, we can go to Melbourne, we can go to Cape Town, you can do a semester in Budapest in math, and so many more. Right? We have these resources which are your compatriots, your science and engineering colleagues who have already studied abroad. So I can go back and talk about these programs in detail. You have a list of them in front of you, and there's a search function on our website. But I think now let's kind of pass it over to the students. Right before we do, let's see if there are any more logistical questions.
Actually, while she's asking questions, who who wants to go first, Hannah? or-
Karina, your PowerPoint is ready, so.
Okay, you want Karina's, okay, you want,
Go ahead.
If you're like a STEM major but you're minoring in a foreign language, can you get foreign language credit by like taking like a chem class in Spanish?
Yes, but you can't double dip.
Okay.
I don't think you can double dip, which means that if it's a chem class,
Like you can't get the credit for chem and for Spanish.
exactly. Like if it was
Or even
a
if it was like a
cultural
requisite-
studies class
yeah, like
about
something-
science.
yeah,
then
like if you
Spanish
filled
might-
up like
yeah.
one of the humanities
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
but you know what, if you're a science and engineering major, if you're a science major, you probably have no more than 60 credits that are required. Okay, so Newcomb Tulane, even with all those requirements, half of your Newcomb, or probably more than your Newcomb Tulane requirements are filled by you being a science major,
Yeah.
right? So even if you throw on a 15 or 16 credit minor, now you're what, up to 76 credits?
No, yeah, I just
right?
went for like the humanities or something. If you took like one of the Newcomb Tulane College requirements.
That's gonna be a minor, that's where you're gonna wanna talk to your minor advisor.
Okay.
But even if it doesn't count, you still got so much flexibility, you
Yeah.
can do another
Okay.
class stuff. And actually, the idea of being a language minor or major, I've known students that were neuroscience majors and Spanish majors, they studied down in South America and did most of their Spanish stuff and came back and did their neuro, right? So you could, or somebody that went for a whole year in France because she was a double major in French and neuroscience, got all her French done and then did all her neuro when she was back here. So there's lots of flexibility on how you do all that.